You know what started to complicate the image for me? You remember when there was a failure about 2 years ago of the Irish vote? And then, this was reported in serious media, not in some paranoia circles, that they discovered that the United States money was behind it. And it was also absolutely clear in what sense stronger united Europe is bothering the United States. I think that's my first geopolitical conclusion. Something happened after September 11th and so on. It's no longer the old imperialist axis of NATO, Western Europe and so on. It's a different dynamics where Europe, I agree here with you, was largely marginalized as a world political factor. So my first point is agreeing with you. Listen, you present the things as if united Europe of multinational capital against honest radical leftists. Sorry, but look at, in all states that I know, maybe I'm wrong, but in a large majority, the absolutely predominant opposition to stronger Europe is from right-wingers. It's from, as you said, it's from nationalist right-wingers. This is why I strategically supported, for which some leftists will never excuse me for it, which is why I supported conditionally the entrance of Slovenia to Europe. Because you know what it means for me in Slovenia? What you said. I know that Europe is like an old whore and so on, we know all those poetic metaphors. But listen, the reason I was for Europe was not, oh, we are part of multinational capital. It was, we were afraid of what you said, neo-fascist, nationalists, and so on and so on. And they react like this. Now with European treaty, the story, you know what is in Poland? Right wing is against Europe, claiming that if they accept European constitution, this will pose a threat to eternal Polish values. Now what are these eternal Polish values? Are prohibiting of homosexuality, prohibition of abortion, and so on and so on. I mean, sorry, but measured with standards today, Europe stands for at least some minimum of enforcing this. Even when the people say, yes, but Europe is, it's even more ambiguous as to economic politics. I remember 2 years ago, Europe wanted a minimal wages and a minimal, how do you call it, holiday, 3 days per year. States opposed it, Tony Blair opposed it, no, this limits our competition, and so on and so on. I have no illusions about Europe. It is also what you say you are. But my first conclusion is, we are moving towards some kind of multicentric world. And which I agree even. I'm also pessimist. I think there is a very serious chance that Europe will fail. I agree with you. I'm just more pessimist than you. I'm saying, sorry, but we should link and want, become partners with Belarus. Sorry, if Belarus or Putin is your communism, then I'm not for communism. These are obscene, even more. I claim on Russia today, from what I know, is much more, Putin's power is much more the power of the financial oligarchy than it's the European Union. That's for me the tragedy. If you are formally outside Europe, you are no less within the world financial system, you are even more exploited. What would be Greece without Europe? It would have been exploited in the same way, just with more ecologically catastrophic industry, more brutally exploited and so on. So I agree with what you said, but I'm saying, why not risk what, and I'm not the only idiot claiming this, Pierre Bourdieu tried this and others, why not take up a battle for Europe? It's one possible space. I mean, Europe is, sorry?
They lost the battle.
Yeah, if this is lost battle, sorry to be sarcastic, what is then? The Union of Which one is not the lost battle?
I don't want
We can say Latin America. No, maybe Europe will fall apart. I give you a prediction. Just like Chavez will be out much earlier than you.
It is not possible, unfortunately. And I don't want to polemize.
But why not?
To go in, no, it's not my habit of going into polemics. I want only to try to analyze what are the challenges and how the different responses to that challenge. First, I never say that the system is collapsing. I say that neoliberal globalization is collapsing, not capitalism. I can understand that capitalism can adjust, but it can adjust at what cost? At becoming more and more destructive, from all points of view. Destructive of human beings, destructive of societies, and particularly the majority of societies, and destructive of nature and so on. Therefore, you know, the first long crisis, Lenin was very optimist. He thought that the first long crisis would be the last one. It is not the last one, and we have a second long crisis. I'm not saying that I'm sure that socialism will come out of this second long crisis. And therefore, what you have said, the menace of nationalism, of rightism, is obviously there already. I'm not denying that at all. But what is the most efficient response to that challenge? If the left support the nonsense of Europe, then they will help the right to manage the alternative system, which will be uglier for sure than the one that we have, but will not be a response. So the left, I mean, there is a left critique of Europe which is needed. Now, how it could, and there we can have different opinions and really discuss them seriously. And I'm not pretending that I'm right, and you are not pretending that. How the European people could eventually build another Europe. Now, I submit, maybe I'm wrong, that within the frame of the present institutions and constitution and so on of Europe, no hope. And all the battles to have a soi-disant so-called social Europe, blah, 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 will lead nowhere. And therefore will indeed create more opportunity for the ultra-right to give its answer. That is a kind of, there are no remakes in history, sub-fascism here and there, ultra-nationalist, so the answer, that is my point of view, that you have to deconstruct that Europe in order to create the conditions for eventually reconstructing another Europe later.
Let me just get into what he was saying. You know, I think that Samir and I would certainly agree that, you know, right now the process is one in which right-wing and nationalist elements are emerging as the answer from their perspective to the crisis. That's the default position. It's the default when the left is not organizing on these questions. And the same thing is happening in the United States with the Tea Party movement. The whole, where is the left there? There is no left. So working class people who are losing their homes and losing their jobs turn to some kind of solution because there's no alternative being presented. Now, it's not only the difference between your side, the right side of this panel, and the left side of the panel, that you are from former socialist countries and we are not. We are also dealing with the third world. Samir deals with the Third World Forum, and I'm living in Venezuela and seeing what's happening in Latin America, where there are struggles happening. And those struggles are, in fact, I think, inform our perspective on this question.
I try not to talk too much. Maybe you should say something. What I'm saying is that we have to have here a much more detailed, concrete analysis. I think that this idea, which is very popular, this wager on more autonomous nation state. But listen, look at Latin America. Here I fully support Chavez. He is moving towards union with Ecuador, Cuba, Mercosur, and all that stuff, and so on and so on. My God, if capital is international, we can beat it only internationally. We cannot beat it through sovereign states, my God, and to printing more money and whatever.